As day dawned, a heavy rain began to fall, and stood around them like smoke, and the storm began to lessen. When it became light, they could discern the coast of Holland ahead of them, and at last they succeeded in getting the ship into an inlet, with her sail slit and her belly half full of water. "These boards have carried me here from St. James's tomb," said Orm, "and now I have not far to go. But I shall come home without my necklace and without the James bell, and little profit have I gained from giving them away." "You are bringing home a sword and a ship," said Torgr, "and I have a sword and a woman, and few of those who rode forth with Croc have as much as that to show for their voyage." We carry with us also a great king's anger," said Orm, "and worse than that can hang around no man's neck." The hardships of their journey were now past. They set the 5 prisoners ashore and allowed them to depart in peace. Then, after they had rested for a while and had put their ship and sail in order, they got good weather and sailed down the coast before a gentle breeze. Even the woman was now in good spirits, and was able to help them with one thing and another, so that Orm found himself able to endure her presence better than before. As evening fell, they drew into the flat rocks that lay below Tosta's house, against which, when they had last seen the place, Croc's ships had been gently rocking. They walked up the path toward the house, with Orm at their head. A short way from the water's edge, the path crossed a frothing stream, by means of a wooden bridge consisting of 3 planks. Orm said, "Be careful of the one on the left. It is rotten." Then he gazed at the plank and said, "It was rotten long before I left this place, and every time my father crossed this bridge he said that he would have it mended at once. Yet I see that it is still unmended and still holds together, though it seems to me that I have been long parted from this place. If this bridge still stands, it may be that my old man, the father, has also survived the years that have passed." A little farther on, they saw a stork's nest in a high tree, with a stork standing upon it. Orm stopped and whistled, and the stork beat its wings and clattered its beak in reply. "He remembers me," said Orm. "It is the same stork, and it seems to me that it was but yesterday that he and I last spoke together." Then they passed through a barred gate. Orm said, "Shut the gate securely, for my mother gets angry if the sheep escape, and when she is out of temper our evening fare suffers." Dogs began to bark, and men appeared at the door and gaped at the 3 Vikings as they approached the house. Then a woman pushed her way through the knot of men and came toward them. It was Asa. She was pale, but apart from this, looked as brisk and spry as when Orm had last seen her. "Orm," she said, and her voice trembled. Then she added, "God has heard my prayers at last." "His ears seem to be deafened with prayers nowadays," said Orm. "But I never thought that you, of all people, would turn Christian." "I have been alone," said Asa, "but now all is well." "Have your men sailed forth already?" asked Orm. "I have no men left," she said. "Odd stayed away the year after you left, and Tosta died 3 years ago, in the year of the great cattle sickness. But I have managed to survive, because I turned to the true religion, for then I knew that my prayers would be answered, and that you would come back to me." "We have much to speak of," said Orm, "but it would be good if we could eat first. These are my men, but the woman is foreign and is not mine." Asa said that Orm was now the master of the house, and that all his friends were hers. So they entered, and were entertained like heroes. There were tears in her eyes as she carried to the table those dishes which she knew that Orm loved most dearly. They had many things to tell each other, and the telling of them covered many evenings, but no word was said of how Toke had won his woman, for Orm did not wish to temper his mother's joy so soon after his return home. Asa took to Toke immediately, and tended his wounded hand with great care and skill, so that it quickly began to mend, and she was fond and motherly towards Mira, though they could talk but little together, and praised her beauty and black hair. She was disappointed that Orm and his men were not willing to thank God with her for their lucky return, but she too was overjoyed. She was too overjoyed to take offence at their refusal, and said that Orm and the others would understand these things better when they were older and wiser. At first Orm found such blitheness and gentleness somewhat strange in Asa, and it was 6 days before he heard her make one of her sharp-tongued sallies against the servant maids, and could feel that she was beginning to be herself again. Orm and Toke were now friends again, as though neither of them ever mentioned Ylva. As they described to Asa the adventures that had befallen them since Croc's expedition had first rode forth, Orm felt his old affection for Toke rekindle, and was eloquent in the latter's praise. But whenever his thoughts turned to Ylva, his humour darkened, and then the sight of Toke and his woman gave him little joy. Mira grew prettier every day, and laughed and sang the whole time, and she and Toke were so happy together that they had little time to notice other people's troubles. Asa prophesied that they would have fine children, and Mira, when this was explained to her, smiled, and said that they were doing all they could to ensure that this would be so. Asa observed that she must now begin to look for a wife for Orm, but Orm replied, with a dark countenance, that she could take her time about that. As things now were, it was impracticable for Toke to proceed home by sea, at least as long as King Harald's ships were at Skanur, so he decided to journey to Lister by land, with no company save that of his woman, for Rap was remaining with Orm, and he bought horses to carry them. Early one morning they took their leave, with many expressions of gratitude to Asa for her hospitality, and Orm accompanied them for a short distance to show them the right path for the Lister country. "Here we must part," said Orm, "and with all my heart I wish you a good journey. But it is not easy to be hopeful about the future, for King Harald will not rest until he has hunted you down, whithersoever you may flee." "I fear it is our fate to be unlucky with kings," replied Toke, "though we are as meek-minded as other men. Al-Mansur, King Sven, and now King Harald, we have made enemies of them all, and the man who brought our heads to any one of them would be well rewarded. Nonetheless, I intend to hold on to mine." So they parted. Toke and Mira rode eastwards and disappeared into the woods, and Orm rode back to the house to tell Asa of the danger that hung over them from King Harald's wrath. End of part 1.